Well, much has been made of Capitol Hill's problem with sexual harassment, but the focus has recently turned to similar issues here in Massachusetts on Beacon Hill.
And our guest tonight says she experienced harassment while working as an aide and was largely ignored by our leaders. She is now a state representative herself. Diana DiZoglio, a Democrat of Methuen, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate you being here. You were an aide at 26 years old for a state rep. Some false rumors began that you were involved with some sort of inappropriate conduct. They were found to be false. But as a result of these rumors, there began this kind of climate of sexual harassment that you experienced at the State House.
Yes, the issue was that I was actually dismissed from my position due to all of the issues pertaining to the rumors that surrounded that incident, the false rumors that surrounded that incident. And then when I was offered a small severance package of 6 weeks' salary from the Speaker's office for the termination that was deemed by his office to be wrongful, I was requested to sign an NDA in order to receive that 6-week severance package.
Was the harassment coming from other aides? Was it lawmakers? Where was that coming from?
All around, there was a lot of harassment going on all around. Propositions, there were rumors, all sorts of things, but I didn't come in here to talk about the past today. I came in to talk about the future, and that's why I told my story and my experience on the House floor the other day was to make sure that we had an example of a time that happened when it shouldn't have happened, and to draw attention to the issue of non-disclosure agreements.
Explain to our viewers what an NDA is.
A non-disclosure agreement is a contract that you sign that actually bars you from being able to speak about an incident that happened involving you, a negative incident 9 times out of 10. And these documents are actually used very often by people in power. We've all heard of the Harvey Weinstein incidents. We've heard of the Larry Nassar incidents. 140 people who were sexually abused or harassed or assaulted due to the use of these non-disclosure agreements being used to hide acts of impropriety, to hide assault, to hide harassment, and to empower perpetrators to be able to continue in their misdeeds. What non-disclosure agreements do is they first and foremost silence the victim, and they make it almost impossible for them to be able to move on from their situation because they're prohibited from talking to family, friends, co-workers, their church members, members of their community, and most especially, they're prevented from going public on these things. They also empower the perpetrator and allow them to very easily move from victim to victim without any consequences.
And state legislators passed a bill last week dealing with some of these issues of sexual harassment, making it easier for people to report it, more broadly defining harassment, but they haven't yet dealt with this issue. What do you want to see done with NDAs?
We did a lot of great things, and I don't want that. I would be remiss to say we did pass a very comprehensive piece of legislation that targeted a lot of the areas that we needed to work on. We made a reporting process available to the aides and the staffers at the State House. We have an employee that they can speak to now. There's a protocol in place and a process that was never there in the first place. I believe that if there was this protocol in place back when my issues had occurred, that none of this would have happened in the first place. So I do want to commend my colleagues who worked very hard on this piece of legislation. I do think that we need to do more regarding the issue of non-disclosure agreements. We did pass an amendment on that legislation that did say that the only time that a non-disclosure agreement would be able to be used is if it was requested by the victim, and that's tremendous movement on that issue. And I think that that's going to help victims tremendously. What we do need to focus on moving forward, however, is we need to look at the use of taxpayer dollars as it pertains to being able to protect the misdeeds of politicians and their staff and empower them to be able to continue in the impropriety and
you don't want
the
them to be able to maintain silence so that people are unaware of widespread problems.
Now it's been said that this
I hate to interrupt you.
Go ahead, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
But Representative Diana DiZoglio of Methuen, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
And if anything gets done with the NDA, you'll come back and talk.
We'll continue the conversation at another time. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.